Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Calliope, and if you've been here before, welcome back. If you've never been here before, then I hope you have a good time. So today I'm going to film a video with some of my botanical wonders here. I was tweeted at by ChillPillzASMR, and I also answered some questions for Scottish Murmurs ASMR and Maddie ASMR about their plants. And plants are my life. That's what I do for a living. And in the winter months, such as now, I am a propagator for houseplants. So I propagate 80 to 90% of the total plants that we propagate from existing plants at the greenhouse. And in the summer, in the spring, the summer, and the fall, I work in the nursery, and I kind of, a little bit, am trying to learn how to be a grower from the head grower there. When I'm not being an airhead, of course, but I wanted to show you a few of my plants. So, firstly, there is a lot of extra noise because I'm filming in my living room and my neighbors are always loud, and we're right under their living room. So, I apologize for that. I don't know that I can edit out the noise because it is a TV and that may mess with my audio levels a bit, but I'm going to try. Another thing, we are in my living room, my giant couch here with some of my plants in the background, but I am currently surrounded by quite a few plants on my floor. So this may be an edit-heavy video because I have to edit me noisily grabbing each plant. So just a few things to look out for. So let's get started. I want to show you firstly if I can get it untangled. Okay, so this baby I have shown off already. This very large specimen is called the Devil's Backbone. The Latin name is now Euphorbia tithymalioides, variegatus, and this is an extremely toxic plant. It's one of the reasons why it's my favorite. This has been cultivated as a garden plant, like an ornamental, since 1688. And it can tolerate toxic waste sites. So if I were to cut one of these stems, they would secrete a very acrid latex or sap, and it could burn my skin. So I have to be very, very careful with this plant not to get any of the sap on me. I've had this plant since it was in a little 4-inch container, and it was about this big and that wide. And after several years, it's now a very large plant that I do need to hack down eventually. But I'm not going to do any major renovation until the spring. So that's my favorite. Let's move on. Here we go. So this is a standard plant for many people, and it has a dead leaf right there. I can take that off. This is called a Zizi plant. The Zizi plant is named because the two Latin names start with a Z. Zamioculcas, zamiifolia. Zamiifolia. The thing with the Latin names is no matter where you go, people will always pronounce them differently. So for example, when I used to work in a different part of Iowa, they called a certain flowering plant anthuriums. There we go, it's hard to say again. Anthuriums. And in this part that I work at, they call them anthuriums. And another type of plant, there is a giant cactus group that I was always told was called Argyraeus. And the workers here in the houseplant area call them Surius or Surus, which is kind of a thick mouthful. So the Zamioculcas plant, the Zizi plant here, is an extremely slow growing plant with these little bulblets at the bottom. Really the only thing that I've found that kills these is overwatering. These are also very toxic as well, so you want to make sure to keep these away from your pets and your people. So this guy has not yet been planted in here. Again, I'm waiting until spring to do any of my major renovation, because this is not its active growing period. So there's not really any point. So that is the Zizi. Now we move on. Now this one is kind of a tricky one. This one is sometimes called a silver satin pothos or a silver satin philodendron. But in reality, it's part of a group called, see if I can pronounce it correctly, Scindapsus. Scindapsus. That's about as best as we're going to get. And this is Scindapsus pictus. And the cultivar name is Argyraeus? Argyraeus? It's a tough one. But this little guy is quite a slow grower. It's not actually a philodendron or a pothos, as I said before. It's kind of a misnomer, but it used to be classified under the pothos name. So this one is quite a trooper. I often forget this one, so it blends in quite easily, but it's never failed me, and it's even got quite a few little aerial roots growing there. So I really want to propagate this one, but I also just want to leave it alone in case something happens to it. So the silver satin pothos. Now we have, okay, I'm going to butcher this name as well. See, plant names don't often come with a pronunciation guide. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So this I have always called Pilea Pepperomiodes. Pepperomioides. Pepperomioides. So this little guy I took as a very small baby cutting a year ago. And you can see in there, there's just 2 little plantlets. Camera might not focus in very well. There's 2 little plantlets in there. And these have a very flat leaf. Some of the older leaves are starting to curl, probably from underwatering. I'm known for underwatering my plants. But all the new leaves are quite flat. And this was a very hard plant to come by a year ago. But now I've gotten to be a part of separating all the little plantlets. And you can produce new plants from sections of these leaves. It takes a long time, but it was worth it in the end because we have quite a few of them, although now they're not so hard to get. They used to be only distributed by 2 companies that we knew of in the whole US. So this is a very small guy. Obviously it's grown very slowly if they came from plantlets about that big a year ago. So a couple inches. Let's see. Okay, now we get to go on to the plant that Maddie ASMR was asking about. This is my Guyana chestnut, which currently has a couple of dead leaves, and it is very long and very thin. It's a tall boy. And this one has very large leaves right now. This is one of my favorite plants as well. Oh, we have a mutated leaf. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's amazing. So this one goes by the Latin name Pilea aquatica, and it's also called a water chestnut tree, but you may know it as a money tree, which I think that name is super stupid. So I call her my water chestnut. And it looks like, my dear, you need some nitrogen. Your leaves are starting to get a touch of yellow. But I think that we are going to start fertilizing in maybe a month or 2. So this one I have accidentally given a case of sunburn and a titch overwatering, actually. So that's why I only have 2 shoots here, although we have 1 tiny little shoot coming out right there. So we can put Pilea aquatica away. Let's see what's next. I'm really excited for this one. I started this one from cuttings about 6 months ago. And this is a ground orchid that is about to bloom. A little bloom there. This is a black jewel orchid. So it's a terrestrial orchid. And it doesn't have a very showy bloom. When this does bloom, I have a picture of the bloom on my early Instagram photos. And it's just a plain white bloom with a touch of yellow. But they have these very, very dark leaves. And I think I need to plant this one a little bit better planter. However, when I put these in here, they were about that long, so they had 3 leaves, and they haven't put any offshoots out yet. That's also kind of what I'm waiting for. There we go. And that one's all bleached out, as is that one. And I'm not getting any little aerial roots yet. So, this is my jewel orchid, or Ludicea discolor. Sometimes you can find these in a variety called a lightning bolt orchid, lightning bolt jewel orchid, and they will have a yellowish whitish variegation on the leaves. So now we can move on to the Rex Begonia. I was also very excited to show you all this one because I have some flowers. I'm so excited. I've never gotten any flowers on this, so this was a junkyard find because this Rex Begonia, Latin name Begonia rex, was originally 2 leaves. 2 leaves on its little tuber, and now we've got so many leaves after a year. So you can tell I don't turn my plants often. I really should do that. But I don't really live here anymore, so I'm not here enough. But this one, I'm so excited about this one because I really didn't try to keep this one alive. I had 2 originally. One of them passed away. But this one's always stayed. It's got little furry stems on it, and they're speckled with red. I love this one so much. Okay. Now we can move on to my prickly pear. So I'm going to have to leap over here and get it. Okay. I'll have to be careful to not touch any of my furniture with this one. So, looks like a spider has gotten into it. I know it's not spider mites because I've already checked all these plants and there's not really thin webbing. It's like a web from here all the way to here, all the way to there. So something a little bigger than a mite. So this guy does not have a secondary Latin name because I don't know exactly what kind of Apuntia this is. This one I've had since it was just this big paddle, these 2 big paddles, and this paddle, and this paddle. So we've gotten 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 new paddles since I've seen it. And it's gotten very woody on the back here. So this is just a hard covering because I'm kind of a dick to my plants. So it will always be this little hard shell. So part of it is probably also sunburn because this is the way that the sun faces. But it starts at these points here and just gets woody. So there's nothing really I can do about it now. So I have to be really careful not to touch anything because it will shoot out its spines. It'll shoot out the little spines that are in its sunspots, and they hurt like hell. You have to use tape or glue to get out the spines. So I love this one quite a bit, although obviously I need to take some petals off and maybe use them for propagating. That'd be a good idea. Something I'm going to work on in the spring. Okay. Oh, darn it. And I stuck my couch with it. And now I have little prickles in my couch. Dang it. Okay, now we go on to one of my stock plants, which is going to be kind of hard because I need to cut it back. Here we go. Okay, so this one is kind of tricky. There are two plants in here. One of them is a striped inch plant called Transcantia flumensis, and the other one is incorrectly labeled Transcantia sylimontana, also known as a fuzzy Jew. But every time I try to look up a fuzzy spiderwort, it always redirects me to Transcantia sylimontana. So that's what I've been calling it. I do a lot of propagating of spiderwort. I do a lot of Transcantia zebrina, flumensis, caenosis, and sylimontana. I do that and spider plants, chlorophytum, comosum. Again, naming's going to be a little off, rhythm's off, but I don't have anyone to correct me, so nobody knows. But I grow quite a bit of these. These ones in particular are harder to grow. Both of these, they take longer to produce, rooted cuttings at least. On the Transcantia zebrina, I can get a finished plant in 21 days. And with these, it takes more like 30 to 36, up to 42 days even. They just don't have the same kind of fever that their zebrina cousins do. So I think probably after I'm done with this should get hacked back. Usually when I grow these after the 4th node is when I trim them back so then they can branch out. But this one, again, they grow so fast that once you look away from them once, they get double the size. So now we are on to my blue-footed fern, my blue rabbit's foot. This was originally a 16-inch plant, I believe, and I cut it apart with a butcher's knife, and I got 4 sections out of it. So this one, depends on who you talk to. This can either be Polypodium pseudoaureum or Phlebodium pseudoaureum. But its common name is blue-footed fern. Blue rabbit's foot fern, rather. So we've got some spores started here. It's hard to see with the camera. My camera's not made to autofocus back and forth, so I do apologize about that as well. So this one has been in here since November, perhaps, but I haven't gotten any of the fuzzy bits. Can't really see, but we haven't gotten any of the fuzzy bits yet, and it's just starting to go through its shock. So I cut off a few leaves. It was quite good for a long time, but it started to lose its leaves, as has my Ficus benjamina I brought that in October, and it's just now starting to lose its leaves. So that's the one back here. It is 5 feet tall, so it's kind of hard to capture on camera. This is my blue rabbit's foot. Okay, and now we move on to the Starfish Sansevieria, which came out on the market for us last year in the winter. So this is Sansevieria, whatever you want to say. It's a snake plant, Sansevieria cylindrica. So this is a cutting. It broke off of one that I put in this jar just about a year ago. And we now have a very small, very small little plantlet right here. And then I took this plantlet that was already coming up, and this has also been in here for an entire year. So it was originally this size, and in a year it's this size. So these grow extremely slowly, but these ones have been a hit in the greenhouse. So it looks like any other Sansevieria cylindrica, except the starfish is much more compact. So we can never keep a hold of these. They've done very well, and in the greenhouse they're currently blooming. And Sansevieria blooms are very odd looking. But if you've worked with plants, if you work with tropical plants, you'll know that a lot of them have very odd blooms. Whether it's a Dracaena or a Croton or a Sansevieria, they all have very weird little perks. And let's see. Lastly, but not least. Okay. We have this succulent arrangement that I made several months ago. Oh my gosh. Oh, my string of pearls is getting so large. Ooh, that's exciting. So, in the middle, we have an unknown, very furry cactus. Very furry. On the side, we have Euphorbia trigona. It's a red trigona. On this side, we have Crucify ovata, hobbit. This is an organ pipe jade, or a hobbit jade. I prefer organ pipe. There's an organ pipe jade. Now if we come over here, this is a type of aloe. I don't know exactly what type of aloe it is. It usually is more of a dark green in color. It's got kind of a warded appearance. So I know my pink blush aloe, and I know Aloe aristata, the lace aloe. This one, I don't really know yet. Then on this side, we have a small string of pearls plant, Senecio rallianus. And this one is a type of sedum called a donkey's tail or burro's tail sedum. This is sedum morgianus. Morgianum. There we go. Morgianum. And lastly, this one, I can't find the Latin name anywhere, but this is called a pink blush aloe, and it's hard to see because I have poor lighting and it doesn't have too much pink to it right now. But this is a little pink blush aloe cutting that I started 3 years ago. So it's grown a little bit since then. It was very, very small. So we have a little arrangement here, which probably in the spring I will take it apart and put everybody individually into a pot. So that is a very small assortment of my plant collection. As I said at the beginning, I have 48 pots of plants. That doesn't include how many varieties are stuck together. I easily have over 50, probably over 60. I have a lot of plants. Now, the problem I have is that my plants are getting very large and very heavy, so the shelving units that I made and my furniture, I'm running out of room, but I should be able to hopefully move them into a better place in the spring if my boyfriend and I find a house. So, thank you so much for looking at me geeking over my plants, and I really appreciate you watching. So, I hope to do more plant videos in the future, but until then, I'll see you later, and have a whale of a day. Bye now. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like this video if you did. Subscribe if you wanna. And if you want to catch me on social media, you can find me on Twitter at Calliope Whisper or on Instagram at XX_Calliope. And I would like to thank my patrons for making this all possible. Thank you to Aaron, Alvaro, Dan, Elad, Fernando, Ferruccio, Gary, Guy, Jeffrio, Red Wolfie, Stefan, Tekla, The Dragon Fortress, and Tony. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a whale of a day, and I'll see you later. Bye.